This is Chapter 11, Modeling the Pulley. As you can see on page 1112, the modeling strategy we're going to do is we're going to do a rough sketch followed by a revolve, which is a new type of constructive process, followed by an extruded cut, a mirror, an extruded cut, and a circular pattern. So to begin, we're going to start a new part in SOLIDWORKS. And we're going to make sure that the unit system is inches. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to start a sketch on the front plane, and we're just going to generically create this shape. So we're going to add a coincident relation with this vertical line and the origin. And we're going to draw a construction line. So remember, we just go to the line and we click this drop down and we click center line. And we're just going to draw a little construction line. The reason we're doing this is because that most of the dimensions that are important on this part are going to be diameters. And the way that a revolve will work is it'll basically take a profile, and rather than extruding it in one direction, it's going to sort of rotate while it's extruding around an axis, while it's rotating about an axis, and create a circular feature. So we can see that if we revolve it around this axis, we can see that this distance would be the radius of whatever hole this center would be. We care more about the diameter. So what you can see is if you're relationing a piece of geometry between itself and a center line, if you bring your mouse beneath it, you can see it snaps and assumes you're talking about a diameter dimension. And that's what we want. So we're just going to click this and enter 0.75. And likewise, we're going to do that for most of these. So this one would be 1.25, and so on and so forth. The next thing, we're going to add some of these horizontal dimensions. And now what you may have noticed is that it's been pretty smart about, since doing all of these off the center line and not having to reselect the center line each time. So you may have to turn on and off the Smart Dimension tool or unselect the center line to do these horizontal dimensions. And this is 0.75 inches. And you can see that this last one screwed up the part a little bit, so I'm just going to add this vertical relation to bring it back. And the last dimension should just be 0.125 inches. And now our drawing is completely black. You can see, if you want to be nitpicky, that this is still blue, this point, and that's because I can change it, but it's not a terribly important point to our drawing. So this is the profile we've drawn, and we want to revolve this profile around this axis. So what we're going to do is we're going to exit the sketch and go to the features, and we're going to select Revolved Boss Base. And now it's pretty smart. It's already selected this drawing for us, and you can sort of see the preview is exactly what we want. If it didn't select, what we would have to do, so I'm just gonna unselect this. Now it's already selected the sketch because we know what it is, but we need to choose the axis of revolution. So we're just going to select this, and there we have it. And just like the extrusion, we have a couple of different end conditions. We can go a certain distance, we can go up to vertex, up to a surface, offset from surface, or midplane revolution. Although generally, most commonly what we see is we just see a blind revolution full 360 degrees. We can also do multiple directions, and we have this selected contours thing, which we also do if we have a particularly complicated sketch with multiple contours and we only want revolve a few of them, we can select which ones. So it's a lot like extruding, it's just around an axis instead of straight out. So we hit OK, and there we have it. We have our revolve. Now it's worth knowing that just like how you can do an extruded boss base, you can do an extruded cut, you can also do a revolved boss base as well as a revolved cut. Process is pretty much the same. You draw a profile, you choose an axis to revolve around, except this time you're cutting away material instead of creating it. Anyway, that's revolving. Next up, what we're going to do is we're going to mirror a feature. Now, we've already seen a little bit of use with mirroring in a sketch. Mirroring features is very, very useful and is used very often. So what we're going to do, it's right up here in the Features tab. We select it, and in order to mirror something, you're going to need a couple of different things. You're going to need to mirror on a face or a plane, and then you're going to need features or faces to mirror. So what I'm going to do is I'm first going to select the mirror plane. It's just going to be this back surface right here. Now it also happens that this is also the right plane based on how we drew this. And it's possible to add other reference geometry planes in, but we're going to cover a little bit more about reference geometry a little bit later in the course. So we have our plane, and now it's asking for features. Now for us it's very easy. We just simply have this one feature, and now we can see this preview. There are other means of doing it. There's bodies. You can mirror faces or bodies. Generally, it's easiest just to select features, but every now and then it'll give you problems, especially if perhaps maybe the feature intersects whatever plane you want to mirror across, or the features are based off of geometry which is not mirrored. Sometimes faces or bodies actually works a little bit better, but for the most part, features is your first, should be your first choice. So you hit OK, and now you can see we have this one part, and we can see all the way through it, and it's nice, and there's no problems. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a extruded cut hull. So what we're going to do is we're just going to extruded cut, and I'm going to select this plane to work off of. Now rather than just drawing a hull, what we're going to do is we're going to draw some construction geometry to dimension this, just so that it's a little bit easier to see and it's a little bit easier to read. So we're going to draw this circle, and we're going to draw another circle, and then we're going to draw two lines. And one of them will be horizontal. So now we're going to make this horizontal. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Control and select the large circle and the two lines, and we're going to make this for construction. So it's under Options. And now we can simply start dimensioning these. So we're just going to make this 30 degrees, and we're going to make the diameter of the circle we're cutting 0.5 inches, and the diameter that the circle is based off of 2.5 inches. And we're going to exit, and extrude through all. Very simple. And the next thing we're going to do before we finish the part is we're going to do a circular pattern. So to do a circular pattern, it's a subset of linear patterns. So we go up to the feature toolbar, and we click the little arrow down, and we can see that mirror is also in there, but it's also where we had used it before. But we're going to do circular pattern, and it's also possible to do other patterns: table driven, sketch driven, curve driven, linear, fill. You can play around with those on your own, but for the most part, most of what we'll do, we'll be using linear patterns, circular patterns, and mirrors. So we're going to select circular pattern, and we can see that there's a few different things. The first thing we need is the patterned axis. We're patterning this around in a circle, and that center point of that circle is the axis. Then we need the spacing between instances and then the total number of instances. And then we, just like when we selected mirrors, we either need to pattern features, faces, or bodies. But again, most of the time you're going to want to pattern features. And then we've got these same things down here. Generally, the defaults will just about always work. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to select this, the axis. Now, you can select an axis by either creating a reference geometry axis, which we'll cover later, or selecting a cylindrical surface, or going into a sketch, and you should be able to select a point or a circle in a sketch, and that should also work. So what we're going to do is we're going to select this cylindrical surface. Generally, those are the easiest and most convenient. We're going to make it equal spacing, and we're going to have 5 instances. The equal spacing is a nice little check mark. That way you don't have to divide 360 by whatever number of patterns you want, and you can easily add more patterns as you go. As for features we're patterning the cut, and now you can see we've got a nice preview, and when we select OK, there we have it. Now I'm going to save this part, and you can save it wherever you wish, and I'm just going to call this pulley. In the next video, we will go through creating a detailed drawing of this part.